All right, I have a few stories for you today. First, I want to talk about Joe Biden's fundraising numbers. It's from PGA Media. It says Joe Biden's approval ratings may be garbage, and yes, they are, but his campaign wants you to believe that everything is just fine because he's raising a lot of money. It says a recent analysis from New York Times found that Biden's campaign had $71 million on hand at the end of February compared to Trump's $33.5 million. And that was before his star-studded glitzy fundraiser in New York City, where he decided to go there and fundraise with celebrities and Obama, Bill Clinton, instead of going to pay his respects to the slain police officer who was gunned down by a 21-time arrestee who should have been in jail. It says well, he brought in $26 million at this fundraiser. And of course, the media went nuts saying that Trump is struggling, Biden's doing great. But when you look at the underlying numbers, it's actually pretty good for Trump. Let's check it out.
When we talk about big dollar donations, like the ones that we saw coming in last night, that $26+ million haul, if you look at Biden from 2020 to 2024, his big dollar donations have increased by 10 points. But if you look at the right side of the screen, Trump's big dollar donations declined by 10 points because Trump is fundraising from small dollars.
Look, check it out. I mean, it's clear as day. The small donors have dropped for Biden, big donors have increased. In Trump, it's the exact opposite. And this is good news because you're having people at the grassroots level, individuals like myself, who would chip in $5, $10, $20, sometimes $100 to get Trump back in the White House. And you have these big donors contributing to Biden. Personally, I think it's a lot better when you have the average everyday American who goes to work, earns a living, their hard-earned cash, and contributing, chipping in what they can, $5, $10, $15 to a candidate. I've done it before. I've given small amounts to Trump, Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, the local candidates here locally to help them get over the finish line. It means more. It means a lot more than having some big billion-dollar donor coming in, some elitists come in trying to donate tons of money to you, raising millions of dollars in cash. It doesn't mean the same. It's better when the average Joe is taking their hard-earned cash because it means a lot more to them. You mean a lot more to them. They're going to crawl over glass to on election day or early voting or whatever they do to get you across the finish line. Simple as that. And Democrats are alarmed by recent polling. This is from James Carville. Sounds the alarm about key Dem voting bloc leaving the party in droves. This Bill Clinton campaign strategist. He's concerned about the recent wave of voters leaving Biden. Says President Joe Biden was supported by 52% of Americans aged 18 to 34, while Trump received 48%. This is a major difference from the past presidential elections, including 2020, where Biden received 59% of the vote from voters aged 18 and 29, and Trump received 33%. This is what he had to say about this.
I've been very vocal about this. It's horrifying. Our numbers among younger voters, particularly younger blacks, younger Latinos, or whatever, but whatever younger, I don't like younger people of color, particularly males. We're not shedding them. They're leaving in the droves.
That's pretty concerning for the Democrats. You have younger people going to Trump like crazy. Check this out from Breitbart. This is from a recent poll in swing states. It says among voters aged 18 and 34, former President Trump leads his fraudulently Joe Biden 47% to 40% in swing states. According to exit polls in 2020, Biden won 61% of that group. Back in 2020, when asked by Gallup if the economy was a top concern, only 11% of those 18 to 29 said yes, as did 18% of those aged 30 to 49. Keep in mind that was during the coronavirus pandemic. And see, back then the economy was, there were lockdowns mostly in blue states, they kept their economy shut down longer, but the economy was able to roar back as red states opened up faster. People started getting back to work. People were putting money back into the economy. So things were actually going back to normal. It says today those numbers have exploded. Now 47% of those aged 18 to 29 cite the economy as a top concern, along with 43% of those between 30 and 49. It says that concern is being reflected in polls, Bloomberg reports. Trump is currently leading the president 40 to 47% with voters 18 and 34 in swing states. By contrast, Biden won 61% of voters under 30 last cycle. Yeah, it's showing up in the polling. Trump is outpacing him greatly, big time, and on just about every issue. You look at the economy, you look at inflation, who's going to be better on inflation. He even is leading in who would do better in a nuclear crisis, 56% to 45%. Now, I don't know who those 45% are. They're likely brainwashed people who thinks that Trump is a deranged lunatic. But the majority of voters believe that, according to a poll, believe that Trump would be able to handle a nuclear crisis. 56% say he would be able to handle a nuclear crisis better than Biden. He's leading on every major issue because the proof is in the pudding. You see what's going on at the southern border. You see what's going on with crime in the major cities. You see what's going on with the economy and inflation. We're not in a depression, but you're paying much more. You go to the grocery store, you're paying 20% higher than what you did 3 or 4 years ago. Even with the pandemic, inflation was not high at all. Trump left office, it was about 1.4%. And now we're looking at what? Everything's up on an annualized basis much higher. Overall, it's about 18, 20%. Yeah, so it's important that you get out there and do what you need to do. Get out there, talk to your friends and family, keep posting on social media because we're winning on these issues. Right now, Trump is ahead, and that's because a lot of you, including myself, are out here pressing the issue. And also people see it for themselves. The border crisis with Abbott and DeSantis flying him into or busing him into liberal cities is doing work. It's doing great wonders for drawing awareness. Now, also, I want to talk about this. Here's a funny story for you. A slim guy infiltrated a fat queer club and it identified as fat. Let's check it out.
It's a queer fat club.
I'm queer and fat.
Okay, thank you for joining. We're just introducing ourselves at the moment.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Joe?
Yeah, my name's Joe. I go by he, they, and I identify as 275 pounds.
Okay.
I feel like Jay's kind of making fun of me, though. I know it's kind of a shock. I know. Kind of a new thing.
I'm just, drunk.
Do what?
I said I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good.
Are you comfortable leaving the group at the moment?
Why?
I'm not understanding why you're joining the group.
This is the queer and fat group now?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I came here for.
Okay. And you said you identify as fat?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just for fat-bodied people.
Yeah, I understand. I identify as a fat-bodied person.
I'm not understanding where you're coming from.
Are you guys comfortable with me here? I mean, I'm pretty chill on my end.
I'm not comfortable, no.
Can we take like a vote?
See, this is great. The guy identifies as fat. Look, this is what people are saying. Dr. Jebra Fauché, whatever her name is, says if you want to be part of the queer fat group, you really have to be fat. It's a requirement. And somebody responded with, you can be a fake woman, but you cannot be fake fat. See, these people are morons. It says, but he identifies as fat. What are they, bigots? See, now they're discriminating against this guy for identifying what he believes he is, what he says he's identifying as fat. Somebody else said it. What don't you understand? He identifies as a fat queer, no different than Dylan Mulvaney identifying as a woman. Neither case has to make any sense whatsoever. And while it's not required for Dylan to have X chromosomes, likewise, does this person have to be fat? I mean, that's a good point. this is another reason. This is why I'm bringing this up, is because you have to crush this stuff. We have to put an end to this stuff in the culture war, and we're doing a great job in the messaging. You saw what happened with Bud Light. You saw what happened with what's happening with Planet Fitness, with their stock plummeting or losing 400,000, almost $500,000 in market value because of this nonsense, this transgender agenda being pushed on us. And look, I don't have a problem with transgender people. I don't. Do what you want to do in your own personal life, but just don't push it on other people. Don't push it on kids. And this right here, this pronoun nonsense, we have to defeat this stuff. We have to defeat this stuff at the ballot box, on social media, and everywhere else, because it's going to become the norm. And you have to push back on this. And this is why it's so great this young man right here did this, because you're seeing people identify as everything, identifying as trees. I heard on Jesse Waters in an interview said that he interviewed some liberal and she identified as a tree or something like that. Or she gets turned on by having sexual relations with the plants or trees or the idea of it, and she identified as a tree. So this guy comes in this fat group and says, I identify as 275 pounds. So what's wrong with me? Why can't I be here? It's no different than somebody identifying as a woman and going into a man identifying as a woman and going to a woman's restroom or going on a women's basketball team. It's the same thing, but see, when you turn the tables on them, then it becomes offensive, and this guy is not allowed. Good job to this guy. I actually may try this out if I can find me a fat group or something, and I could identify as 300 pounds. Maybe I'll get in. All right, let's keep going here. And back to the border crisis. This is all ties into the election. Denver offering free bus tickets to illegal immigrants to move on. The opportunities are over. Yes, this is great news. This is from Red State. A local Denver television station recently obtained video of a Denver city official visiting a shelter for illegal aliens, where he is essentially telling them that there are no more resources available to them in the Mile High City. Video footage from a local NBC affiliate shows Denver's newcomer communications liaison and political director for Mayor Mike Johnston telling a group of recently arrived illegal immigrants that the city is unable to assist them. Wow, okay. He says the opportunities are over. New York gives you more. Chicago gives you more. So I suggest you go there where there is longer term shelter. There are also more job opportunities there. He continues to say, we have received too many illegals, and that is why we ran out of resources. We're not going to block you if you want to stay here. If you stay here, you are going to suffer even more, and I don't want to see this. It says Denver is looking at roughly $120 million in budget cuts to pay for resources for illegals. Currently, individual illegals can stay at a shelter for 2 weeks, and families have a 6-week stay limit. Carrera then explains that immigrants do not have to go to New York specifically or Chicago. The city will not take them to Canada, but will take them any number of cities on the American northern border. Yeah, this is what happens when you virtue signal like this, when you claim to be a sanctuary city and you want to take in everybody. You're protected from ICE, from being deported. Now that Governor Abbott and Biden opening up the border, and you have Governor Abbott busing these people to these places, I'm very proud of my governor for doing that. Same to Denver, New York, Chicago, LA. These places plan to be sanctuary cities. So you know what? You guys you guys bear the responsibility of this nonsense. They have to live up to it. And cities all across the country, these big blue cities across the country, are suffering for it. They're taking money away from citizens, people that live there, who may be born there, American citizens. You see in Chicago, cutting services or using resources that are supposed to be for the citizens to house illegal aliens. You see in Denver right here, $120 million in budget, faces a $120 million budget crisis. You see in New York City, Eric Adams having a tough time with this nonsense. They created this mess. Now they have to deal with it. And you're bringing this issue to people's front doors. And that's why it's going to be huge in the election. Immigration has become, in some cases, the top issue in polling. For me, it's the top issue because I don't want to see this. I want a secure border. I want people to come here the right way. I have no problem with immigrants. I have no issue whatsoever. My problem is when you come here illegally and you basically freeload. And you saw with that influencer telling people how to squat. And he's been arrested now, thankfully. Telling people how to squat, take over homes, how he's getting all these benefits by coming here and staying here illegally. It's not supposed to work that way. So yeah, I'm not immigration. No, a lot of us aren't. We just don't want you to come here illegally. But yeah, let's keep going here. This is from the Post-Millennial. Biden administration allows immigrants to check third gender option on naturalization forms. You've got to be kidding me. President Joe Biden's U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services have revised their application for naturalization to have a third gender option designated by X. The application form for naturalization, Form N-400, has been updated to have a third gender option. Yeah, this is crazy stuff. This is what happens when you have a woke administration in the White House. You put a third gender. There is no third gender. Period. I'm sorry. There is no third gender. It's only male or female. Why does somebody have to have a third option? Am I missing something here? Seriously. I mean, either a man or a woman. There's no in between. There's nothing on either side of those. This is why we must crush these people at the ballot box. We need to put normalcy back into the White House and steer this boat back in the right direction. This boat is being rocked by these waves of morons running our country in these big blue states, blue cities, and at the White House. It must be stopped. Lunacy. Another reason why we have to defeat this nonsense is because of what's happening in New York, with women being punched in the face all over New York City. Let's check this out.
The stories are harrowing.
I was literally just walking, and a man came up and punched me in the face. Oh my God, it hurts so bad.
College student Michaela Tonato says she was just leaving class in Manhattan.
So I just got punched in the face walking home.
He hit me right on my cheekbone. This doesn't hurt as bad as the concussion does.
She says she didn't see it coming.
You've got some visible signs. You have the black eye, but Michaela, emotionally, how are you feeling?
No, it's been really, really hard. I think it hits me in waves. A lot of crying because it was really, really scary.
The NYPD confirms it is looking into at least 4 similar cases, like the one shared on social media. In one of them, police say a 40-year-old man has been arrested and charged with assault.
I was punched in the head in New York City, in Times Square.
But the police have not linked the cases to the videos. In recent days, dozens of accounts of alleged assault have popped up online. NBC News has not been able to verify all the videos. The troubling stories surfacing at the same time there has been a rash of violent crimes on the city's busy subways. In response, the National Guard has been brought in to search bags, and 1,000 additional NYPD officers are now riding the trains too. But the mayor pushing
About time.
back on the idea that crime is rampant in this city and expressing concerns that social media is stoking fears.
I know a city out of control because I visit some of them in this country. This is not one of them.
77% of Americans believe crime is on the rise, according to a Gallup poll. Misdemeanor assault is up 10% from this time last year in New York City. But in most places, the FBI says violent crime is down.
I'm really scared to go back to school. I've just been delaying it as long as possible, but I'll have to go back eventually.
So what do we know about the person that was arrested?
Well, he is a repeat offender, according to the police. He has an extensive criminal record. He's been arrested 3 times in the last 6 months for similar crimes. He is what the police call a recidivist. And I've had conversations not just about this spate of crimes, but also about what's going on the subway. And it's one of the largest concerns right now in the NYPD. They are arresting the same people for the same crimes over.
Oh, and they're getting out of jail, and it's happening again.
This happened to a very good friend of mine who actually happened to be the former head of New York City Transit, ran the subways. She got punched in the face in broad daylight.
When was that?
About 15 months ago.
Wow.
See?
Yeah,
So
it's a scary trend. The police finally overnight connecting the video to the crime, the TikTok to the crime.
Wow.
Wow. All right, Steph. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right. Mayor Eric Adams says that this is not a city out of control. Look, people are getting punched in the, women are getting punched in the face all over the city. I've seen look, this has been viral, so I know you may have seen this. It's a good chance because it's been all over the internet. Women are showing themselves, their faces, bruises on them. One had a golf ball sized lump on her head. It was crazy. And this woman said on here she was afraid to she's afraid to go back to school. One woman was just moved to New York City. She was walking around with a GPS. She's a social media girl for a job or something, and she was coming back and look for her building, and she was using the GPS to walk around, and she got hit in the face. And I believe she has left New York City since then, and I don't blame her. A city that's under control doesn't have things like this happening. You don't have people getting pushed onto the subway and getting hit by trains. You don't have that happening in a city that's under control. You don't have people playing instruments in the subway station getting bashed in the head, which has happened. It happened, I think, last month or so, in the past month and a half. You don't have people walking around in fear in a city that's under control. Now, while it may be safe in certain parts, but you're having things happen in broad daylight. I saw a video of a guy get robbed for his Rolex in Manhattan. A couple of guys came on a bike or something like that, a little moped or a motorcycle, just like you see in third world countries, and they asked the guy for his Rolex. They say Rolex, 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 and his Rolex got stolen. Third world stuff. So yes, while maybe crime is down a little bit in certain spots, certain areas, but people are afraid. There are people that are afraid to walk around, and you can't have that in a society. You want people to feel safe. I feel safe walking around where I live because it's a great police force. It's safe. They respond quickly. It's a much smaller city than New York is, obviously, but I don't feel unsafe walking around. That's what happens when you local. Look, when Giuliani was in New York City, and even look, I'll give credit where credit's due. Mayor Bloomberg, who was a Democrat, kept the city safe. You didn't see all these stories like this going on. Giuliani and Bloomberg kept the city safe for years. I'm going to finish off with the story right here. This is from my state in Texas. A gardener whacks a thief with his weed whacker. Let's check it out. Damn. You see right there where he throws the weed whacker at the car and one of the thugs falls out. Boom. Hits him. Hit him again. Guy can barely get up. Gosh.
Stay on the floor. Stay on the floor. Stay on the floor. Stay on the floor. Stay on the floor.
Oh man.
Stay on the floor. Stay on the floor.
All right, so the video goes on for about another minute, and the thug gets away. But good job on this gardener fighting back, on protecting his property. Small business owner making a living, cutting grass, keeping people's yards looking good in the Houston area. And this guy is harder, and uses harder money to buy his equipment. And these thugs come over here and want to take a leaf blower. So good for him for standing up and throwing that weed whacker at the car, and showing that thug who's showing him that this is not okay. He eventually went to the hospital to get treated for his bruises on his head, and that's where he was found, and police arrested him there, thankfully. But this is stupid. This is dumb stuff. Get a job. Get a job or start your own dang business. Leave other people's properties alone. It's not yours. But yeah. But people feel free. Houston is a crime-ridden area. Crime is pretty high in Houston. And that brings me back to my point of voting in people who want law and order, and let them know it's not okay. Let people know it's not okay. And that's why crime is low where I live, because the police have made it clear. They sent a strong message that these types of things will not be tolerated. They will come after you, and they will put you in jail. Simple as that. But all right, guys, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe to my channel, to this podcast. If you're already watching me on my YouTube channel, go ahead and follow me on Spotify. If you listen to this on YouTube, see you next time. Thank you. Take care.